Hey gaming fans, so today's another Yu-Gi-Oh! Deck profile, and this one is Counter Fairies. I kind of use the Agent monsters as well. So let's get to the deck profile. So, for the first three monsters, pretty much every Counter Fairy deck you play is going to have three Bountiful Artemists. I almost played two at one point, but then I thought, you just want to play, you just want to open up with this card. So when this card's on the field, every time a counter trap is activated, you get to draw a card. Pretty simple. So that includes your opponent too. So if your opponent plays something to counter your cards, if he's face up on the field, you get to draw a card. And I also play one Meltiel, Sage of the Sky. He's a 1600. He's similar to the other guy. He's every time a counter trap is activated, you gain 1,000 life points instead of drawing a card. And if the Sanctuary of the Sky, which is a field spell, is out on the field, you get to destroy one card your opponent controls. So that's pretty cool. I mean, just gaining 1,000 is okay, but if you have that field spell out, to be able to pop one of your opponent's cards, always a good thing, especially after you've just negated their whatever they played. And this is another card that you need three of. This is Guiding Ariadne. It's a pendulum monster. You pretty much use him for his pendulum effect in this deck, but he is a 1700 beat stick, so if you do need to throw him onto the field, you can. So pretty much his effects while he's in the pendulum zone is you do not pay life points to activate counter trap cards, or you do not discard to activate counter trap cards. So, I mean, that makes a lot of the older counter traps, like Magic Jammer, for instance, it makes it playable if you want to go that route. But mainly you just want it for the life points, because a lot of the counter traps that everybody plays are you pay with life points. Now on to the agents. So I got the three of the Agent of Mystery Earth. So that when this card is normal summon, you can add the agent monster from your deck to your hand, except for himself, a copy of himself. And while Sanctuary is on the sky, you get to add a Master Hyperion instead. So all good. You know, it's always good to have a card that just searches out another card when you play it. And then for more of the agent, these guys, just for some of the muscle, they're 1800 attacker. And then once per turn, you can remove from play the agent monster in your graveyard to select one face-up light fairy monster you control. The selected monster gains 800 attack until the end phase, so it gives a nice attack boost. And while the Sanctuary of the Sky is face up in the field, once per turn you could discard one fairy type monster to select one of your remove from play fairies and special summon it. So that could come in handy as well. Then I play one Zeriudus, the Herald of Heaven. You can discard him to add a Sanctuary of the Sky from your deck to your hand. So, you know, there's a few effects that really like to use that Sanctuary of the Sky. If this card on the field and there's no Sanctuary of the Sky, you destroy this card. So it's kind of a drawback for him being a 2100 beat stick for, level 4. I mean, nowadays I don't think that's such a big deal, but back when this guy came out, it would have been. And then I'm playing two of the Master Hyperions, because they're just strong cards. All you have to do to special summon it is to remove from play one agent monster from your hand, field, or graveyard. So that could be any one of these guys. And then once per turn, you can remove from play one light fairy type monster from your graveyard to select one card on the field and destroy it. And if Sanctuary of the Sky is face up on the field, you can activate this twice per turn. So again, getting used out of having Sanctuary of the Sky out. It's a removal tool. It can banish a fairy. And then this guy, if you have him out, he can special summon that fairy back. So really cool. And then to help, because a lot of your fairies are kind of weak, I put in 3 Honest. They're also fairies. But pretty much an old card that, I see some people still use it. Your opponent won't see it coming. I mean, they go to attack into your Jupiter or your really weak Earth, which is only 1,000 attack. And then, you surprise them with an Honest and you take out their card. So can kind of keep them alive. Also, for your Bountiful Artemis, you don't want your opponent running that over. So Honest will just keep it alive. And then for a surprise, I put in Vandalions, the Dark Dragon Lord. So I got 2 of those in here. So this is kind of a funny one. Pretty much after a counter trap, you control negates the activation of your opponent's cards or effects. You can special summon this card from your hand, then activate the appropriate effects based on the type of card negated. So if you negate a spell, you inflict 1500 damage to your opponent. I mean, that can actually become, good, especially late game. Trap, select and destroy one card your opponent controls, again, more destruction. Or if it's an effect monster, which most likely it will be, select one monster in your graveyard and special summon it. So it gives you that monster reborn effect. So really cool card. I mean, it's 2800 beat stick as well. So another card that your opponent probably wouldn't see coming. So that's it for the monsters. Let's get into the spells. I don't play a whole lot of spells because this is a counter trap deck. So we play 3 cards from the sky. Again, this guy here, he does have the ability to special summon remove from play fairies. So, your cards from the sky, you remove from play 1 light fairy monster from your hand and draw 2 cards. So it's kind of like Allure of Darkness, but for fairies. And you cannot special summon or conduct your battle phase the turn you activate this card. So I mean that's kind of a downside, but that's okay because usually in this deck you're setting up. You're dropping cards to the field. You're setting up your play. And then I threw 2 Pot of Duality because you really do want to get to cards like this really fast to make sure that your counter traps don't cost you anything to activate them. Because your best position to pretty much be in is to have this on the field and your Artemis, so you're drawing a card and you're not losing any cards or life points. And because there's quite a few effects that kind of want this field spell out, so I put 2 of them in here. You don't want too many of them because you don't want to keep drawing into them, but I figured 2 should be enough. Plus you have the Searcher. You can, discard this guy to grab it, so it's not needed in the deck, so it's just a good to have. And then I put in 1 Ties of the Brethren. I wanted to put in more, but I was trying to figure out what space to, I mean, I guess you could remove some of the cards from the skies or the pots or whatever to throw that in there. And then you can grab, once you summon one of your fairies, even Honest or whatever, and then you can summon 2 more fairies with different names, which would be your, these 2. So every time you activate a counter trap, you're going to draw a card, gain 1,000 life points, and potentially pop a card. So, Ties of the Brethren is actually pretty cool in this deck. So you might want to try and run 3. Of course, on to the counter traps. So the pretty standard lineup of counter traps. Solemn Judgments, negate everything. Solemn Strikes. Again, negates most things, like your opponent's monster's effects, pretty much, or summon. Solemn Warning. And you notice all of these require heavy life points. I mean, this requires 2,000 life points, this requires 1,500 life points, and this requires half your life points. So, I mean, not paying those life points makes these cards all free and negating everything. And then for the last 2 is Ultimate Providence. And again, you could activate all this stuff without your cards in play. You don't need to have that out there. You could still activate it. But it's just best to have that card out there. And this one, of course, when a spell or a trap card or a monster effect is activated, discard the same type of card. So if you're negating a monster, you have to discard a monster. And then you get to negate it and destroy the card. So you could still activate this card even without that one card out there. But having him out there kind of negates that effect of having to discard, so then you could just use it as almost like a Solemn Judgment. So that's pretty much the deck. Let's get on to the extra deck. Now, I don't know, the extra deck, I just kind of threw one together. You don't really need to go into your extra deck in this deck, but you can. So I put like a Fairy Cheer Girl, just a draw card. It's 2 level 4 fairy monsters. You can detach 1 XYZ from this card to draw 1 card. It always helps to draw cards. And of course, I always place like Abyss Dweller, Utopia, Cowboy. These are my standard rank 4s because you do play a lot of 4s, so you probably want to have some outs to things. And then I put in some Link monsters like Underclock Taker, Pentestag, just for piercing if I need it. Triple Burst Dragon because it's just a nice big monster. That's the one thing, some of your fairies are pretty weak, so, just having some stuff to, go into, some options if you need to get bigger. And because you can do some synchro summoning, Pretty much you could synchro summon into 6 because of your... These guys are tuners. They're level 2. So if you have your 4 out and a 2, you can actually tune into stuff. So Bryonic, you know, just a really good level 6 monster. I threw this guy in. Celestial Wolf, Lord Blue Sirius. I don't have a whole lot of level 6s for some reason that are good. But this guy's okay. I mean, if he's destroyed and sent to the graveyard, you target one face-up monster your opponent controls, it loses 2400 attack. So you'll pretty much be able to crush whatever. And then I threw in a Leo because, I mean, technically it's possible. And that's it for the extra deck. So let me know what you think. If this is the type of deck you've ever played, I think it's fun. There's so many different ways you could do it, and it could be really annoying for your opponent to pretty much just say no to all their cards. Like if you ever play Magic the Gathering, you probably know what it's like to go up against counterspell decks. So this is kind of in the same kind of vein as that. Anyways, hope you liked the video. Let me know what you think. Throw some comments down below. Hope you subscribe. Talk to you later.